What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of EYEAM Mental Health Podcast. We have a very, very special guest here with us today. I'm Monte Newsom.
I'm Will Jenkins.
And today, as I said, we have a very special guest, a Baltimore native. I'll let you introduce yourself, bro.
So what's going on, everybody? This is Nigel, Hammett, 25 years old, currently living in California. I grew up my entire life in Baltimore, Maryland. A little bit about myself. I'm the resume plug, so I help people get jobs, careers. I teach trading every single day, digital literacy. I'm just somebody that's a big time community advocate, been through my ups and downs personally, but use every mistake and every learning lesson to help out and inspire everybody around me. So I'm excited to be here, fellas. Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
We appreciate you for giving us your time, bro, for sure. Let's get right into it. So tell everybody where you come from, how was it growing up in Baltimore? We know you lived in Chicago for a period of time, so just talk about growing up in them tough environments. For
sure. So my adult years, I definitely moved around, but from age birth all the way to 17, right before college, I grew up in Baltimore. And so one thing I can say is that I lived practically two different childhoods. I've had experiences, being a young entrepreneur with my grandmother, painting fences, selling snowballs with my cousin, selling candy in school. It's always just been a young hustler. But also I'm somebody that's experienced the system. I had some family members deal with some tough times, some mental health issues on a serious level. I don't even use the word derail, but I would say shifted my childhood from experience in Section 8 housing, going through vouchers, going through shelters, going through all types of, unstable at-home conditions. Obviously, that's helped me out tremendously today in terms of my own internal strength. But at that young age, you have those things going on at home, and you got to navigate the things that's going on outside of home. So for me, my biggest challenge was actually at home. When it came to everything everybody else had going on, I kind of stayed away from the drugs. I stayed away from the corner. I stayed away from all the random shit that people do as kids, not just selected in Baltimore, but I'm sure a lot of places in the city or just anywhere that you just got kids just being knuckleheads. So I stayed away, and through my experiences, through my hardships at home, I had a decision to make at 16 whether I was going to allow these circumstances to take me forward and be somebody that's a success story, or be just like anybody else, a statistic.
Right. So talk about that decision that you made 16, 17, when you decided to go to college.
Right.
A&T, correct?
Yes, sir.
Shout out A&T. You know what's going on. Shout out.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Man, so that was a big time decision for me. We were talking earlier. It's funny because when I went to North Carolina, Baltimore, my classmates couldn't even physically understand or register why I was going to North Carolina. And that was so big, I just needed life to slow down for me. My life was moving. I didn't even go to spring break because of senior week, whatever they called it, just because I had so much shit going on at the house. I had to leave. And so you have that opportunity to reinvent yourself. Coming from somebody that dealt with those, I'm literally coming straight from handling such situations with family members, in and out of shelters, in and out of courtrooms, straight to college class, straight to being a student athlete. I know we can relate to that. I played tennis. And so, my mindset became very focused and determined, cold, but also very serious to handle business and make sure that, I ain't got no fallback, ain't no safety net. So I went down A&T and handled biz, for sure.
What you saying that we don't have nobody that if everything go left, there's nobody that's gonna be there to pick you up. And a lot of the times being in the household, where we from, and I'm pretty sure other people can relate as well, our surroundings outside of the household is really what's causing negative things, and not even to just say negative, but may not be the best environment at times. So how was it for you being that space was in your home? How did that affect you in the house?
You just got to get used to instability. And that's where toxic traits can pick up, because you talked about this, you're survival mode. And that's one thing as men, a lot of us have to learn how to break through. Because when you're in survival mode, it's so easy to be, get up here and say, hey, we got to be healthy and mental health, but when you don't know when you're going to sleep at night, or you got somebody fussing all the way to 4 o'clock in the morning, you got to do what you got to do. And so I had to learn from a young age to handle the situation, but now being older, it's I gotta heal, I gotta address certain situations and just be a better man internally so I can continue to show that externally.
Do you feel like it was one event in your life, or maybe a few of them, that made you kind of hit that switch and reflect on all that?
Yeah, just it's crazy because I'm naturally a humorous person. Everything that I had going on, I laugh about to this day. That's why I say focus so comfortable talking about it because there's level set thing. I had one thing going on with maybe my homie down the street. His shit was 10 times worse. You just don't know. And so I say that to say is the main shift for me is I had that moment at 16 years old was just seeing how everything just felt like my life was spiraling out of control. Like, you know, from family to school to friends, I seen, you know, like what happens sometimes. You may have one of your homies at a young age may lose his life to being in the streets, or somebody may go to jail at a young age, or you may see like one of my closest homies may be just as smarter than me, and he ended up, you know, doing some BS and going off that path. And that was hurtful to me to kind of see those things outside the home and inside, and I had to make a decision. So it was a collective of those things. You know, also we talked about before, just knowing that you can do it, knowing your gifts and working towards them as you get older.
For sure. All right, so now speaking on that, from in the home and out the home, then you go make that transition to North Carolina,
Right.
And then you join a brotherhood.
Yeah,
So,
right. Yeah.
So
Yes,
what was like, again, the determining factor?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I just needed brotherhood, period. You know, somebody like National was a great leader. National was a winner. I worked hard, but I needed to get around better people. You know what I mean? So one of my mentors actually at A&T was from Baltimore. He went to Poly, real great guy. And one thing when you go to college, especially at HBCU, you start to see Black men specifically wearing suits. I went to college, I didn't have a suit. You know, just so it doesn't get like, I think I had some shit. I had my bigger cousin little big pants, like I'm getting clowned out. Oh man, I got grab it. So it was all of that, man. From joining the frat to just being around other leaders, other Black folks and brown folks and people from all different places in the country doing great things that inspired me. We talked about it before. I used to look up to certain individuals, and I still do. It's still big homie, big sis. But as my gifts started quickly developing, the tables got turned very quickly, and I became the man on camp. And you know, of course, still humble, of course, still being myself, but my skills started blossoming. I'm glad that I accepted and embraced it.
How did you make that transition, or like, I would say it like this: how did you go about like leaving some of your old friends behind, family, loved ones, to say like, hey, I have to, this the space I need to put myself in order for me to elevate?
Yeah, you know, things come in seasons. And the thing I love about social media is, you know, we can still stay in touch. You still watch the highlight clip, but I'm not going to be able to hang out every day like I used to, and that's okay. And the real friends, they understand. The real friends understand, like, yo, I may have to go away for whether it's sports, whether it's an opportunity, whether it's for college, and know that I'm doing this so I can get better. And if they're really young, they're going to ask for games so they can do the same or learn from your experiences. So I had that mindset, of course, where, yo, I'm growing up. I need hustlers only. I need winners only. I need real ones only. You feel what I'm saying? But I've also grown now to the point of I don't knock somebody for not being as ambitious as I am. I understand that everybody has their own potential, their own levels of happiness, whether it's my cousin, whether it's somebody I grew up with, we can still play 2K. You know, just because we're not building doesn't necessarily mean we can't hang out. We won't kick it all the time, right? But you're still cool. I ain't gonna put you to the side. You know?
What you think was what you think gave you that type of balance? Like, woke you up to realize, like you said before we got on here, you talked a little bit about how you was in a space where at one time that wasn't what you were. Right. Like, it's straight business or to the side. So what kind of got you in that space to be like, man, you can have balance too?
I would say just seeing the power of relationships, knowing that life is short. You know, because at the end of the day, when it's all done and over, nobody's gonna talk about how much money. They're gonna talk about how the people you met, the experiences you had, the laughs, impact, how you made it feel, and that's just as important. And so sometimes, especially for us young Black men, we grow up with I gotta make it, I gotta be a millionaire by the age of 22. If not, my life's a failure. So I think a lot of people feel that. But also, just as much money as we want to get just as much love, experiences, great relationships, and support. And so I realized the value in that when I was in college, and I started to make that shift from solely being just called transactional. You come off green. I ain't like that, because that's not me. So I had to change my approach and perspective.
When you hear move with love, what first comes to your mind?
Move with love means, yo, I do it for you with no money involved. I do it for you with no cameras on me. I do it for you with no recognition, no credibility. And I'm gonna do it without making you feel bad about it or trying to take all the credit. You know what I'm saying? People that do shit, they will let you know. That they
Yeah, you know, they like hanging over.
Right,
Like, forgot about that little 10K.
Right.
Like,
But
they
they
offering.
Or worse, they're announcing it to the group. Like, let's say, you know, you got a crazy accomplishment, and we are around the group, and everybody's celebrating you. Y'all know I'm the one that put them on there. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
like,
man, we know that.
like,
So don't be that person. It's just, yeah.
That's a good answer. I like that.
Let's get into some of your accomplishments though.
So,
you know, we know you do trading. You actually wrote your own trading book, ebook.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
man, yo, just like being an author is dope. I feel like a lot of people have the ability just to continue to express themselves. So I've been trading for the last 4 years. I started actually in college. I think I told you. I used to have charts up in school. This was like right when, you know, our academy started. I wasn't even in the academy. I knew the people that was doing it, but it was me and my homies. We would just stay up late night on charts. And I'm so glad that I took trading seriously. And I always share the story of me and my man. We was just up a bag. I was up a band. He was up 10 steps. He was in class. When we didn't know what we was doing, they ended up fumbling. But the thing is, I never stopped. You know, I had so many people around me starting to quit. And that's why I'm here today, is I never gave up. And I became an educator. I taught to tens of thousands of people at a time. We wrote a book about how to be a great trader.
With all your accomplishments, what would you say is your greatest accomplishment? Like, what makes you feel the most proud of yourself inside?
Yeah, it definitely. I could choose a few things. One thing in particular would be student loans. I paid off, you know, $48,000 in student loans in just 9 to 10 months through trading at the age of 23, right after I graduated college, and that was big.
That's big time,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
People be in student loan debt, so you know how
People
they
own Biden right now because he playing. So it was huge. I mean, number one, just to be able to get that burden off me, debt free was great. But also too, it was able to show people, because at the time, you know, still to this day, a lot of people see trading and investing as negative. There was a lot of memes, there's a lot of joking. Some things rightfully earned through drama and whatever, but there has to do with business stuff going on. But people thought it was a joke, right? But your student loans getting paid off ain't a joke. You can make as many memes as they wanted, but my loans was clear. And I was teaching this, and I put it on Front Street. And it was a great way for people to wake up. And some of my homies even shifted from clowning it to trying simply, I had to do all that just for them to try.
Right. Which is crazy though, because a lot of people definitely had got like, don't get me wrong, it was kind of one when you talk about EYEAM Academy, but people forgot that like, you don't have to network market to trade. Like, that's what a lot of people forgot. Yeah,
and I wasn't even no like big time ranker in the business at the time. I think I had like 10 of my homies with me at the time. We got that out. That was a huge accomplishment.
Talk a little bit about working with big companies, starting with Facebook and even leaving Facebook to work for yourself.
Yeah, for sure, man. So one thing I did extremely well in college is I networked. And when you start a business, especially in college or even in your hometown, you do have the ability of the network at your advantage. And so I started Resume Plug, helping minorities and women break into the tech and workforce industries. I had everybody in my campus supporting me. My school was paying me, administrators, everybody knew who I was. So I had frontline access to all the recruiters. And so my senior year, kind of like, you know, somebody may line up to play college ball or something. I had my top places where I wanted to work at, and I set my high, right? And I learned that from just traveling. I went to California when I was in college, never been before, boom, opened my eyes. I visited my homies that lived in Miami. Shout out to my guy Fortune, opened my eyes.
Shout out Fortune.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so having those experiences and seeing and reading books, seeing the lives that people live, opened my eyes. So that was impressive to me. I'm not gonna lie. I felt that shit. Like when I got on Facebook, that's like getting in Harvard. Like nobody at my school. There's a few people that went to Facebook, but it was on the coders. I did it straight up off business. You know what I'm saying? Didn't even study what I was working on, just off the network, speak and play. Got in and you brought it up. I mean, you know, the pandemic hit and was getting money in a lot of ways, trading, going crazy. I ended up stepping away from corporate America and doing my own thing for 14, 15 months down South Florida and Miami. And that was a whole nother experience, and then being able to have that still degree and skill set to come back to corporate now at Google. So it's been a lot of ups and downs, no regrets. I would say definitely some things I could have done smarter, because you know what I'm saying, my whole life I've had a lack. And so when you got it, sometimes you just had that urge, you just gotta get all of that out of you, man.
No, definitely. I was definitely gonna ask about the regrets, but you answered that already. Glad you did. What was your degree in exactly?
So I studied industrial systems engineering. at A&T, and I did all engineering internships. But I realized that I had a gift for speaking, I had a gift for teaching, and I always wanted to be a business owner. And so while that degree is cool, and I'm gonna get a job like that right now, it just wasn't feeding my true passion. And I'm not a big fan of working. I don't love 9 to 5 already as a business.
Right.
So I'm definitely not gonna be working 9 to 5 that's not fully aligned. My favorite thing that I would tell people when working a job is either needs to be paying you really well, or you're learning a skill that you can go take somewhere else. And I knew that working at Instagram and Facebook.
So what would be some quick advice you would give someone who's working at 9 to 5 that's paying them well, but they feel like it's not their passion, like they don't feel happy inside?
Right. So I mean, definitely if you're not happy, that's the big focus. We gotta ask ourselves what makes us happy. So when it comes to a career standpoint, sometimes the job is, sometimes you need to be doing things within your personal life, mental health, because the job's always gonna be a job. Somebody's always gonna have to tell you what to do. You always gonna have to boss something unless you go full road. But that's a sacrifice that most people do. So you gotta understand, okay, how can I get the best position? All right, or how can I become a manager or a leader? But not everybody go for that. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got a role. So everybody got a role. So my best advice is see what makes you happy. Is that something that you can do starting today? Whether that's going for more walks, whether that's going to a sport or a concert, and add to the happiness. If not, there's probably some work internally for the job.
Recently, you just accepted a job offer working with Google in California.
Yes, sir.
Talk about moving from Baltimore. Yeah, congratulations, bro. Talk about moving from Baltimore to Chicago to North Carolina to Miami to Cali. Like, how was all the moving around for you? How was it seeing like not being able to see family as much as you want? Did it take a toll on you? Do you love it?
Yeah. So I left the house at 17, headed out to 18. So like I said, I was leaving it's crazy because I got to the age now where I can say and look back, okay, this. Sometimes I think when you deal with trauma, it's so easy to just, especially if you're a strong-willed person, you have a strong work ethic, when you have trauma in your life, it's so easy to be like, oh, that was just a little thing, that was a little hiccup. But you gotta get to the point like, nah, that was.
You really don't want to open that.
Right, you don't want to address it. Like, no, crazy ass shit. Like, it may be over, but you still can name it. Yeah. And so I'm at that point now where I can name it. When I was that young, I couldn't. So I feel like I was running. So it worked well because I was running from what I had going on at home. I didn't have the strength or the tools to face. So I put my focus, my coping mechanism was my work ethic, which is not bad. I'd rather do that than you know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't gonna say so, you know what I'm saying? Y'all know what that is. Y'all know what the bad negative coping mechanism is. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's different. So for me, that's what I chose. I chose to wake up early. I chose to work out. I chose to stay up. I chose to get good grades. I chose to get money. That was my coping. You know what I'm saying?
Besides that, and so we're doing all the good things, shout out that for sure. What keeps Nigel mentally stable?
What keeps Nigel mentally stable? Naturally, I have a very soothing, relaxing personality. And it's crazy, man, but that comes from you grow up in a dysfunctional household, you can become rowdy, you know what I'm saying? You can be like, yo, I'm used to seeing people cuss each other out and fighting, so I do the same thing. But sometimes people, when we talk about trauma, sometimes people respond the opposite way. Let's use the alcoholic, for example. I don't know if anybody's experienced that, any of my listeners. I hear this, it's pretty common. If you grow up with the alcoholic, a lot of people, like, especially if they experience a quote death through alcohol, they choose never to drink again. That pushes them so obsolete to the edge.
That's right.
And so that's the same thing with me. Like, I'm anti-fussing, I'm anti-yelling, I'm anti-fighting, all of that. I can't, like, if you try to fight with me, of course I'm gonna have business. You feel me? But I'm talking about more on a domestic level. Yeah, I'm not arguing with when they get caught in the parking lot. Yeah, I'm just not doing that. I'm not even 15 minutes, not really mad at this one. So that's where that comes from. It's my strong desire to not have that in my life. And so that's cool, but I built the tool sets and skill sets around it. I've learned de-escalation. I've learned mature communication. I've learned calm delivery. And so it's easy to want those things, and you have to work on the tools to get you. So you're not ignorant. Right, you can't just want it and still be cussing people out.
I like how you use words like choice, like you let everybody know that you have a choice to do this. I chose to do this every day. I learned. So like, obviously you weren't the person you are right now always. So like, how did you get to this point to be calm and know like different traits that may not be the best for you, how to surround yourself with the right people. Did you have a mentor, someone helping you out, or how did you get to this point?
Yeah, I would even say going back to childhood, one great benefit that I did have, as much crazy shit that I did have going on, one thing that my folks were really big on was confidence. Like, they would care more about confidence than schoolwork. Like I was bad in middle school. I used to get suspended, and my folks would never overreact. But let me like be scared to speak up or like get shy somewhere. Like they would think, you would think I just you know what I'm saying. So I used to hate that coming up, but now it works. Like even examples on the sports level, my pops like it's crazy. Like he used to literally drop me off in the roughest neighborhoods around town and be like, nah, I'll be back later. Go make some friends. I'm 11 years old. Like crazy shit like that. And so that's how I had to learn to communicate. I step on the court, you know, I might see a gun on the side. Like, that's why, you know what I'm saying? But I gotta play the part. Yo, what's up, y'all? Ooh, they looking at me, never seen me before, but after a couple of times, okay, that's nice. And so I had to learn those, and that same skill sets translated to business. I stepped into a room, it might be people that went to Ivy League and grew up in decks and boats and yachts all their life. I'm still getting that room in politics.
Shout out Nigel Pops, man. That might have been a crazy tactic, but it worked.
Yeah, it really worked. Like he really dropped me off and be like, yo, I'll be back later. I'll be back in 3 hours. I don't know nobody on the court. Everybody's smoking guns on the court.
Like you said, in the city, just like, I'm not about to just sit here.
Nah,
then they look at me, then they look like,
you know how it is in ball. Like, okay, you got Hobie. He got his gun on the side of the court. He said, yo, it's a foul. All right.
Good ball, bro. You got it.
But those skill sets, man, a lot of us have those are personal skill sets. And that's what we call social intelligence. I think that's a big reason for my success today. I have the ability to say no, I have the restraint. You know what I'm saying? We were just talking about it with the homies. Like, I don't even like going out. I'm comfortable enough to say that to my friends. But also I have the social intelligence where if I am out, we can have a great time. In business settings, we can have a good time. And I know how to ask. I know, you know what I'm just saying? Those things like intelligence is book smart. Street smart is street smart. So social intelligence is that blend. Because you're really working with people.
I like that. That's a blend. Yeah, nice there. Like
something that we ask, a question that we ask everyone that comes on the mental health podcast. With 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest, where is your mental health at right now?
Sure, my mental health right now is a solid 9, man. Feeling great. I want to expand more on that. It's like blessed, bro. I'm blessed. I don't care what the situation is. I'm out here in Houston. I live in California. It's so easy to focus on the negative things. It's so easy to focus on, oh, I ain't got this support, I ain't got that help, so, you know, nah, bro, like I'm really truly legitimately blessed. But to be real with you, like a few months ago, before I moved out to Cali, this is kind of why everything went down. I was back home and my mental health was starting to slip. Right now, I have the strength and the tools and the skill set to rebound and recover because that's what I do. Right. But you got to know yourself, right? And so when it just started slipping too far, I'm like, okay, hold up, I got to make some changes. And I have to understand that sometimes moving and getting away isn't moving and doing something for yourself. You ain't running from the situation, you just choosing to move. So it may hurt then, but long term, it's like, damn, I can truly only help if I'm good.
So how do you go about it as far as telling those people who you feel are close to you or like in your circle that like, I gotta do this for me, right? And then there's this for y'all too, right? I gotta, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but
my biggest thing, I don't even know who said it, man, but it's funny. It's like somebody called me for advice, like, yo, I need some money, whatever the situation is. It's a joke, man. I'm like, yo, do what you was gonna do if you didn't know. You know what I'm saying? It sounds crazy, but it's the same type of mentality. It's like, look, at the end of the day, people will figure it out. If they have to, it's their life. And sometimes we can get so emotionally invested into friends and family. It's not bad to do that, but not to an extent of it hurting our mental health. And so when it's affecting me personally, I can't even contribute to the situation because I ain't doing it. You know what I'm saying? So we both stirring up the pot in negative ways. So you just gotta rip the Band-Aid off. You know, you hope that they will understand, but I'd rather you be mad at me for 2 to 3 months, 6 months, than me be mad at myself the rest of my life because I didn't decide to go to Houston. I didn't decide to go to Cali. I didn't decide to open up that business. And so a lot of people get held with that regret and animosity internally because they let somebody around them stop them from taking that move.
So for those people who are in that situation that's stuck right now, whether they're in their hometown, wherever they at, and they feel like complacent, what's some advice that you would give?
Easily, you know, you want to surround yourself with winning friends. You know what I'm saying? Like you look at somebody, I use basketball for example. Like anybody that watched the NBA finals, like shout out to my guy Andrew Wiggins, he's an all-star this year. Andrew Wiggins he got mad talent. Everybody know A. Wiggins is great. For those that don't watch basketball, it's a great talented player, it's an all-star, and he won the championship this year. But I use him as an example because he went on a winning team. So he picks up, now he's like, yo, he's 6'8", great on defense. You see it.
Yeah.
Before in the league, he wasn't really seeing it.
A lot of people like, oh, he's this and that. Like, bro, he averaging 18 points a game as a first overall. Oh, okay, you feel me? But it was just like you said, you got to get around those people.
Winning habits.
Yeah, you got to, now you're in that culture every day. You around somebody like Steph Curry.
They winners.
They're not going to let you.
Winners.
Yeah, they're going to mix you. Now, they got their fourth and he got his first.
So that's the first thing. You got to get around winners. Now, here's what they don't tell you about this. Sometimes you may not be able to hang. So you got to make sure that you're ready. You can't get around hangers if you can't hang when you get in the booth. Because they're not going to take the shit because you can't contribute. So when you get around winners, you got to be ready to contribute, add value. And if you can't take it step by step, you may have to watch winners at first. You may have to study winners before you can get around these levels to the game.
You took the words literally right out of my mouth. That was going to be my next question, because Andrew Wiggins even said, like, of course he won the championship this year with the Warriors, but when he first got signed to them, people was like, why the hell are they even picking him up? So it's like, and in our generation, what you say, hang around winners, it's like you can't just go and be like, oh, I'm about to go be friends with this guy because I see that he have emotion right now. And now you a bandwagon, right. You a lead rider, all of this.
That's why we said value and touch.
Yeah, like you gotta add value. You wanna hang around winners, know that I'm gonna go add value to these winners. They already winning, so they don't really need me around.
They
so
don't. They busy.
And I had to help them out. So like, what's some things that keep you sharp and keep you on your toes?
Right. Well, I have skill sets. You know, I encourage everybody to develop their skill sets. And I'm aware of my skill set. I can meet somebody and tell them exactly what I do. How you doing? My name is Nigel Hammett. I'm the resume plug. I help women and minorities break into tech and help them earn anywhere up to 6 figures. How are you? You know, you know what I'm saying? with fluidity. Right. So I say all I have to say, you gotta know who you are and what you bring to the table. Okay. Whether like I'm gonna give one thing about me. I give practical advice. I just want to drop gems. Let's say you work at Wendy's, right? Instead of just saying, yo, my name is Sarah and I work in fast food. Yo, my name is Sarah, and I'm top-notch in customer service. And I help put a smile on people's face every single day. How are you?
Damn, you're selling yourself.
Yeah. You know? That's smart.
Just that little add-on, rather than just saying I work at Wendy's, just turn somebody like, so what is it exactly? Like now they period.
Yeah, and then you get into it with, damn, you need to be doing this.
Yeah,
let's talk about it.
You know, you put a smile on people's face. Well, I got a business over here that need a greeter at the door or something. You can put yourself in a position to be at a higher level. Talk about, well, of course we know from following you, but a lot of people might not know the behind the scenes and things like that. So talk about like you giving back. I seen that it was a big thing for you to go back home and actually get some property and fix things up back home with real estate in Baltimore. So talk about how you got into that.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, ownership is key. You know, that's one of the reasons why our people have been struggling time over time. It's not even our fault. There's been so much racism and systematic oppression that prevents a lot of times people like us from moving forward. But I'm gonna be real, you know, I've seen the downsides firsthand. You know, I've experienced Section 8, I've experienced vouchers, I've experienced, you know, all of these types of things through my family situation. I realized like, damn, this type of shit that happened to anybody that it's fucking happened in my family. You know what I'm saying? So I look at it like this, you know, I need to continue to grow my skill sets and get ownership. Nobody can't just put me out a house, you know what I'm saying? Nobody can't just give me the boot. You know what I'm saying? So the biggest thing when it comes to real estate is, for me personally, is community based and ownership and longevity. We was talking about it before, you know, toxic traits and things we have to work past. I have to work past looking at rich people as negative. Like I used to look at that shit as soft. At the end of the day, I'm trying to be wealthy. I'm on my way to being a wealthy man. Then I'm soft. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we gotta change that mindset of like, yo, instead of looking at, you know, that trust fund kid or the parents who are well off, and looking at them like they soft or whatever, we need to look at the accomplishments of the family and admire what they've been able to contribute.
Right, we need to be looking at them steps down that road.
What they did. Like I used to look at it like, yo, if you ain't hustling, like you pussy, like you soft, you know, and that's bogus to say. It's complete BS. But I had to break out of that. I'm like, nah, like I met some people that really shifted my perspective. I met some people like very extremely affluent families. I'm talking about with private jets, like got cribs in Cabo, so work just as hard as me. I'm like, oh, okay.
I think you did.
Yeah, well,
So it ain't
right.
somebody else really always.
So that will be up.
Speaking of that, like in the wealth, since this was a question we literally had last night. Not even really just a question, more so just a versus, I guess.
Right.
What would you say is the difference between a broke person and a broke-minded person?
Right. I mean, broke is broke. You know, if your bank account's low, that can happen. When we think about a broken-minded person, it's really coming from the level of victimized mentality, understanding that they take away their choices and their own power by thinking about what the world did to them, instead of about the choices and the accountability that they have. You see, the true 1%ers, the true wealthy thinking people, they, even if they're dead broke, they're not even talking about it because they're doing something. You know what I'm saying? They don't even have time to complain about the situation because they're actively changing. And so even if you're stuck, you know what I'm saying, you're in debt or you family situations or mental situations or whatever setback that thing is for you, every single day you gotta ask yourself, yo, what is one thing that I can do today that will help my situation? Because there's negative things you can do. I can go outside and slap somebody, I can go grab something or harm somebody, and that's gonna have an immediate negative impact. But I'm like, damn, if you can do something negative, you can also do something that's gonna help your situation, even though it may be small.
No, that's a good way to answer that. Because a lot of people don't think of that. Like you said, like, I asked that because it's people who are broke or broke-minded, and they just automatically think like, man, like it's everybody else's fault that was going on. Like, bro, you can do that for so long till you look up and you're 40, and now it's like, is it really still everybody else's fault?
Or now in our generation, everybody think that by the time you're 24 years old, you need to have a Lamborghini and $1 million. Nah, feel that. Like,
that's the facade,
yeah.
You know. And at the end of the day, it's like social media. Ain't nobody. It's so funny, man. Because as an entrepreneur, the biggest thing that I worry about people stepping into the entrepreneur space or the creative space is the inability to take it, right? Because I like to look at it like boxing. All boxers need to be able to do what? Take a hit.
Sure.
And so you got people stepping into the ring that don't want to be touched. You chose the wrong sport.
Q Banks was saying this like 2-3 weeks ago. He was saying like a lot of people think that you're just gonna get into like this type of space and never lose.
Right.
That's not what happened. There's no losses.
And it's interesting because you can choose a path for minimal mistakes and minimal risks. And that leads to minimal experience. If that's what you want, and that's what makes you happy. Like, for example, you could work a good job, get a good apartment, and take one vacation, and then do that for the next 40 years. Have that option. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want. You know? But if you want to be in a space where you maybe want to take 2 to 3 years off, want to go live more extravagant lifestyle, and have bigger and better experiences, A, it's going to require you to get a better career, which is still work, or B, it's going to require you to start believing in yourself, starting an entrepreneur venture, which is going to have risk, going to have mistakes, going to have heartbreak, going to have depression, loneliness, not trusting yourself, as opposed to just going that straight narrow path, but it has the potential to lead you so much bigger. And so that's the interesting part where when people start stepping into this path, they are not accounting for the obstacles that are literally right next door.
No, that's great, bro. That's a great way to explain that. You're right, though. A lot of people don't. So speaking about like just yourself, we had this conversation before we got on here. Talk about like therapy, like how you feel on that.
Yeah, therapy is real. Like I just kind of stressed, you know, my situation. You know, I've seen a lot in terms of just, you know, domestic violence and my living situation. There's levels of instability, which people can relate to. Like instability don't always gotta be, you know, people flipping shit upside down. Instability could be maybe you moved a lot. You know, you don't have a good support system, or I don't know, maybe you still discover who you are internally. That still could be level of instability. And so for me, I got there. Like I went when I was 23 years old, and I went on the lens of I didn't feel like nothing was wrong with me. Like I wasn't on the ledge, you know what I'm saying, for lack of better terms. I was more like, hey, I've been going through my whole life in survival. I've experienced all these things, never been to therapy, but I want to make sure that as I'm learning how to better express my emotions, I knew that was a weakness for me. I want to go about it in the right way, and I probably should talk to a professional.
You touched on your childhood a little bit, and getting back to the mental health aspect. Like, have you ever been through any like severe or mental health episodes, or have you even if you wouldn't consider it like depression or anything like that? Like, cause some people will go through stuff and either try to like brush past, especially where we from, like, oh, I'm gonna just be tough about it, or like they aren't even aware that they're going through an episode. So have you ever experienced any?
Yeah, definitely. I would say early on in my life, I had the mentality of things easily slid off of me. So no, in my younger teenage years, I was cold. I could literally see the wickedest thing, and I really wouldn't use no sleep on it. That's just how my brain was programmed. It's kind of scary looking at it now. And now I'm like, I might see a puppy. That shit made it. You know what I'm saying? But like when I was younger, like now I was very cold. Like internally, I was still a nice kid, but internally, I didn't have a lot of sympathy. Like honestly, I didn't. Like I just did. Like you know, I really wouldn't feel bad for nobody. And so I've grown, and as I've learned, okay, that's not okay. Here's what's also interesting: if you kind of grew up like locked in, like a shell, like that emotionally, what they don't tell you is when you try to do better and get better with expressing emotions. Now it's weird. I'm experiencing pain. All the pain that I was rejecting before, now it's coming in. I'm like, whoa, so there's a new feeling where I go through something that's not even compared to what I used to go through, and it hurts. And I gotta feel it. Now I gotta accept it.
Like,
Deal with it. Right.
You know
You know what I'm saying? It's just regular, you know, it's just a regular thing. And so that's the biggest thing as I got older, like as I kind of had situations pop up that wasn't even as bad to the shit I had going on at 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I feel it because now I'm allowing myself to feel it. That's the biggest thing, allowing myself to feel it. That doesn't mean for me, I'm about to be shut up in my room or whatever and know, you know, everybody does what things differently. Right? It just means that I may cry. I may, you know, need to still pull over for a quick second. I may need to go talk about it, but that's growth because before I never did any of that.
And I'm glad you touched on I may cry and all of that. Just speak on a little bit, especially with this generation now.
Right.
And even our generation before us, like it was always boys can't cry. Like, oh, get up, boy, you tough. Like, get up.
Yeah.
So talk about like men expressing themselves and men having feelings as well. Like men go through things just like everyone else, even though society doesn't really allow men to speak on it or complain about it or anything like that.
Yeah,
what's your take on
it's
that?
interesting, man. I see it threefold. You got the society standpoint, like social media, like easy examples. You got black men going through certain situations, mental health. They going on to me first thing. Man, ask the boy, is he okay? He going straight on to me.
Tyrese, a lot of
Made for comedy. You know what I'm
he was
saying?
literally crying
The one that
tears.
was sick, and he ended up passing away. He was Chad Harwood.
Oh,
Black
he was
Panther.
making fun of
He was
him,
really
yeah.
sick, and we was making fun of him, and he passed away.
Shit.
Like, man,
So that's society, like social media. And then next thing you got, this is what I experienced, like a household. So everybody's different. This is what I realized. I got a lot of gems growing up. I learned how to be a hustler. I learned how to be an entrepreneur. I learned how to take accountability. I learned how to be social. But from an emotional standpoint, gotta get nothing on that scale. And where that gets shown is your ability to express, receive emotions like love. You know what I'm saying? So you got that aspect. And then let's bring it even further. So you got on a domestic level, like a lot of women may say, okay, yo, like, you know, I want my man to be expressive or whatever. But sometimes, not for all the women, can't put people in a bucket. But sometimes you may have those situations where the guy does express. Now he's may look at us all for a week amongst the group chat or whatever the case may be. And then lastly, it's amongst us, right? I specifically remember, you might get beat up, like if you sitting here crying about something. You already crying about it. They go big. You know what I'm saying? Let me give you something to cry about. Right, or your parents, whatever. And those things we just got used to as growing up. But then that's what I mean by you gotta reevaluate. And they used to say that probably wasn't.
And it definitely takes a lot for you to like really want to look into like your inner self and like open those, like you said, those wounds and stuff. Because a lot of people, like I know even me, I haven't gone to therapy yet. Even talking to this might actually make me want to do it. Or just like sometimes you just have to sit back and look. Maybe you can sit in a room or something and really just look back maybe at pictures and look at those things like that wasn't really how that was supposed to go, or like that wasn't really it. But at the same time, you can't like look down upon it or look at it like it was bad because it kind of made you who you are.
It did, but you had to realize like there's levels of being normal, right? And so that's what the problem that I had. A lot of stuff that I saw was very normal. And so when you're dealing with another person, especially in relationships, it's where it gets exposed because you're doing things that are considered normal. Like you're not even doing anything in your mind, but to the other person's experience, it's like, yo, this is toxic, or this is not good, this is not healthy. And that's when it's like, okay, now you have a choice. Am I just going to be stern, like, yo, this is the way I am, or am I going to choose to learn to get better?
And what you saying that, I just want to ask you, like, where do you differentiate? Like, because how you said some people might think like, okay, this is toxic, but the other person might not even be aware that they're doing something. So where do you differentiate or where do you separate like, okay, I'm gonna give this person a little bit of leeway or sympathy, or it's like, okay, you of age now, and even though you weren't learned this you didn't learn this as a child, or no one actually taught you how to be expressive or how to communicate properly, so you just always come off angry, or you always come off the wrong way. Like, where do you differentiate? Okay, I can give this person leeway, or okay, enough is enough.
It depends on where you are in your life. Like practical examples is, let's say on a relationship level, what may be a big deal to person A, person B doesn't even care about.
Right.
So that's just very important to choose your friends and your partner, because they're gonna sway kind of some of the things how you build about it. So the next thing, you gotta evaluate it and take accountability. Like regardless of what this person is saying, is there some truth here? Can I improve? If there's ways for you to get better and you have seen the negative impacts from it, it's more than likely that's a good time for you to dive deep and start working on it. Especially like if it's been a pattern. Like I'm gonna just give a real example. If you had a pattern of letting people down, if you've had a pattern of being too attached, if you've had a pattern of not caring, you've had a pattern of not showing up or showing up too much, those are things like, okay, let me look at where that's coming from in therapy, and these types of conversations are really good.
Yeah, I feel like that all relates like to self-reflection. I feel like there's something big that anybody, like whatever color you are, age, but like once you get to a certain age, especially as an adult, we have to self-reflect whether we want to or not. Because it opens up a lot that just makes you a better person and gets that elevation. Now, speaking kind of in that lane, why does Nigel do what he do?
Man, that's a great question. So I would probably put this down in 3 areas. So number one, obviously, the more cliches, just I got family and people that need it. I have so many situations, even from trading, man, just a lot of people look up to me. I know that. I try about my best to be a great role model, but I've had people who went to college because I was tried engineering because I tried engineering, joined the fraternity because I joined the fraternity. So knowing that I'm a role model, you want to be a good path for people. The second reason, this is very underrated, is I'm very connected and aware of the gifts that God gave me. And this is where I believe if there's 100 people in the world, only about 15 people truly have a strong idea what their gifts are. Everybody else either kind of knows or hasn't taken the time to fully explore. Right? So I'm part of the 15. But out of the 15 people that are aware of their gifts, only about 3 to 5 of those 15 are truly maximizing and using those. Even I got room to use it. When like even this is a gift. Like speak well, give great general perspective, we need to do it more. So only 3 to 5% is maximizing. So with that being said, I don't want to be in a position where I look back at my life and I know all the skills and the talents and the blessings that God has gave me in perspective, because it's very unique. I have strong adversities, but I also have strong gifts. When you blend those together, it's a powerful combination. And I'm like, okay, God, let's use it. So I don't want to let those potentials go to waste. Talk about, I ain't trying to be no has-been potential, but it's internal. I honestly, but at the same time, I'm also very content if I don't achieve anything else after today. I've done a lot.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Like, do you feel like that's like a battle with yourself, trying to make sure you don't let like anyone down from those people who look at you, family, like you feel like that's a battle sometimes?
Sometimes it's a battle, but it's more internal. I feel it more internal because I know what I'm capable of. Like, I'm capable of great big things. Sometimes with those great big things, it requires great big work ethic. You know what I'm saying? That's work, sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times it's more like, I'm doing great to the eye, I'm getting congrats, good job, Nigel. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, there's still levels and things that I'm working on achieving. However, the other side is being content, great. I've achieved a lot, I've flown a lot of places, shook a lot of hands. Where we from? A lot of people never even leave from that time frame situation. So compared to most.
Definitely. Not gonna keep you too much longer, but just with you saying that you are aware of all the things you have accomplished, and congratulations on everything. It's really just the beginning. Like, you got so much more to go, and I know where we come from, especially me personally. Like some accomplishments that people might glorify and things like that, you might be just okay. I did it. It is what it is. So where do you give yourself? Like, do you notice yourself? Like, do you give yourself self-praise or self-credit, or do you just like, we gotta just keep going? Like, it's the hustle.
Yeah, it's really in the journey. The accomplishments is cool. Of course, it feels nice, but the death of the dream, I've heard some, I think, Big Dash says the best funeral. So like, it's really not the process of hitting the goals. measure my success off of the journey, how many people I help. I measure my success off the income. Like my resume business, I'm not looking at how much money I made. I'm looking at the fact that we put 300 people in a 6-figure job. That's something I have myself back.
Salute to that, man. That's awesome. Like, for real, salute to that for sure. What you saying, like, you helping so many people and it's really just about the journey. Like, you're so selfless. So I just want to commend you for even being as selfless as you are. So, like, when do you take the time out or what do you do? This is what I want to do. This is me time. How often do you take time to yourself away from everyone else? Do you have a day where, I turn my phone off or like, what is your self-care?
Yeah, I mean, I like to schedule, like I like using office time. But of course, like you call, whatever, but just don't be overly inviting everybody into the space at all times. Like try to give yourself some boundaries. Like usually for me, Wednesdays I like to do, what I'm saying? But it's also the challenge of breaking out survival mode because a lot of times if you got major issues, financial or family, it's like, yo, I gotta go do it. You know what I mean? So kind of slowly transition out of that phase. But I would say, the selflessness comes from I understand my gifts and I understand my talent. I'm gonna be honest, I really trust the fact that I know I'm gonna be good. Right. So I'm like, I want to make sure y'all I carry like that too. Right. I know it's gonna work out for me some way, somehow. But let me try to help cover y'all real quick. Because I don't know about y'all. You know what I'm saying? That just be my mentality.
I got one last question for you. With all the things that you've accomplished, what's next for Nigel, and where do you see yourself in the end game? Like, what are you really doing all this for at the end? Where you can sit back at the table and take a deep breath and just be like, I built this. I've done this.
Yeah, I would say for me, man, it's a few areas. Definitely, family legacy is huge. When I'm at that time in my life, I'm building my family. That's going to be very big to me. Continuing my legacy and taking everything that I've learned and continuing the growth, building on the generation. The next thing I would say is flexibility. Somebody that's extremely flexible and that does many things. Like the thing about when you have a lot of gifts is a lot of things you can do. You know what I'm saying? And the last thing we talked about is something hardcore, like a program community. I want my own community center, shelter, some type of safe haven. Back where we're from in Bmore. But honestly, I want more than that. I want multiple places. Wherever I got a heart for a special place, that's when we setting up shop. And it can be big or small, but something that's going to live past me being here. True legacy.
Most definitely. You could transfer that even to, you've been to Africa. So like even out the country, touching those young kids' lives all the way from Baltimore.
Yeah, we setting up shop for sure. If they hungry, they want our spot.
For sure. We got to touch bases on that, bro, because it's crazy. Like we've been talking about trying to get like an outreach program and stuff like that back home too. Because like I feel like there's people that may want to do it. Like, don't nobody take this wrong. There's people that may want to do it in Baltimore and stuff, but I don't think it's enough people of our generation trying to get back home. Like, a lot of us are trying to get out and never get back.
Right.
So
yeah, you gotta return.
Yeah, you gotta return. Like, it still made us what we are.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still family there. Like that's sometimes a negative. What happens sometimes we get up and then move and like it's extending the ladder.
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely, bro. Well, we definitely appreciate having you on today, bro. Thank you for giving us your time. And here on EYEAM Mental Health Podcast, we always give everybody a flower. So I definitely want to give you a flowers, bro. Congratulations on everything that you got going on right now. Congratulations on previous accomplishments, future endeavors. If there's anything that we ever could help with, just open arms, reach out to us. Keep being selfless, keep being you, keep being a leader, and just keep motivating the people, bro. Like we really need this, we really appreciate this, and the gems you drop today to just hear it come out of your mouth is like people gonna love this, bro. So we definitely appreciate you for giving us your time.
For sure. Get the people your Instagram handles and stuff, bro, where they can follow you.
For sure, man. It's your boy Nigel Hammett again. You can connect with me on Instagram at Nigel's Canvas or the resume plug. And if you DM me resume, you DM me LinkedIn, cover letter, anything like that, and we can hook you up with some free resources.
And of course, we're going to put all the tags right there on the bottom. Anything resume related, trading, anything, it's the guy. So make sure y'all reach out. Let's keep networking. Let's keep being great. Mental health matters. We appreciate y'all.
Like and subscribe. Thank you.